Okay, so, and we'll start with Tina, I guess, since you're closest to me. Tina, what will you do as commissioner to rein in any future overspending and any double-digit levies in the future?
Right, so the reason we had to do our bond referendum is because the Republicans, before we got on the board, Barb and I, and even Dan, they were not taking their full assessed value. So we got so far behind on what we were getting per dollar, or with our tax funds. When we actually put this referendum together, we actually made more 15 years prior per $100 of your tax bill than what we were as of date. And it was not sustainable to keep operating our forest preserves, we can't raise that ourselves, so we went to a referendum. That was passed by 63% because people really like what we're doing and want to see that work continue. But saying that, we have a very responsible budget. We always have a balanced budget, and we don't let things go out of I forget the word you use, but overspend on things. We're very conservative on staffing. We're very conservative on our programming. I'd love to see more education programs, but we have only a certain number of staff that can do those things. Our restoration work, love to see more restoration work, but again, we only have a limited number of staff, and so we plan for these things, and we make sure that we can afford these things when we are doing them. And I come from a financial background. I worked for KPMG for years, doing payroll and global tax accounting, and doing audits. So I have a very financial background that it's ran a little different in the government side, but I am all about making sure you can pay for what you're doing and the services that you're providing.
Thank you. And forgive my faux pas. Thank you, Tina. I forgot to introduce you. This is Tina Tyson Dunn. She is currently our Forest Preserve Commissioner for District 2. And then we have Dana Moreau. She is running for County or Forest Preserve District 2 in a primary contest against Tina. So thank you very much, Dana, if you could answer the question.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I actually also have a financial background. I worked for Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation for over 10 years, so finance is paramount. But what's more important than that is I also own and run small businesses, and I work for mission-driven nonprofits. Now, if you want to see someone who knows how to take $1 and actually turn it into $200, that's going to be me. The Forest Preserve has been great with their budgeting, and I'm really happy to see that referendum has gone through, so thank you for your work on that. They've had a backlog of projects that have needed to be done for years now. There's a reason people voted for that referendum. We don't pay much for those forest preserves. What were we paying in taxes? Maybe $100 of $300,000 house would go to those forest preserves per year. How much do you pay for a membership to the zoo, to the Arboretum? And how many times do you go to that? I personally, I'm hoping you do too, go to the forest preserves about once a week. My family has gone there for years. We continue to keep going, we'll be going in the future, because what we have is a friggin' gift, to be honest. I had no idea until very recently how few communities in this country benefit from forest preserves. How lucky are we? So do we need any additional funding right now? No, because of the work you've done and the board's done and the staff has done, and thank you for that. But if it comes up again, I'm going to take a look at every line item in that budget, and I'm going to see what we can do while still meeting the needs and the goals of this community that we love.
Thank you. Okay, and then we're going to skip to that third question. And it is, what should be the #1 initiative for the Forest Preserve for this year? And then also let's look to the future planning. Do you have some ideas for a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan? And we'll have Dana answer this one first.
So for this year, I don't know that all of you know, but there is a 10-year plan in place for the Forest Preserve. I believe it was created in 2019. I have a lot of history and background in strategic planning, so we are going to need to start looking at that again soon, because clearly that's coming to the end of its time frame. Immediately, I would follow the plan because there are a lot of efforts, especially now that we have funding, that we've put on the back burner that we need to continue doing. So there have been a lot of enhancements to the Willowbrook Wildlife Foundation, which I think is now called DuPage, but I was a board member for Willowbrook, so I'll always call it that. So I think we stick to it for this year, but one of the reasons I'm running, and actually there are multiple reasons why I'm running, but my priorities are to really think about our forest preserves sustainably. I mean, I went into 2025 not really optimistic like most of you, but I couldn't even begin to imagine that things I thought were protected, I mean, like our national forests, like due process, like consumer protections, were not actually protected. I didn't see that coming. That was not something I guessed. So then I started to ask too, like, if that's not protected, what else isn't really protected that I think is? And when I started diving into the questions about our local assets, I didn't like the answers I came up with. So this is why I'm really thinking about this sustainably as well. And this is what you do as a commissioner. I mean, I don't micromanage. My background is in ecology, but I have a lot of environmental background that is in different places and spaces. Check out my website. But the first thing is, let's really protect these forest preserves. We say they're protected, we sort of have a policy, but if new people came into this role in another few years, would that still be the case? Can you guarantee that? No, you cannot. So we need to look at more policy. We need to look at more legislation. We need to look at better partnerships to make sure that becomes a reality. And then two other things I'm thinking about, again, sustainably, is the forest preserves are one of the few places right now that you can go, that your family can go, that has not been monetized, and that is, for the most part, completely free. When we're looking at these pressures, these financial pressures, going back to the question you asked previously, there's such a temptation to figure out, well, if we just charge $2 here or $3 here, well, that's how it begins, and it's a landslide. So I want to make sure we never see that creep, right? We're paying taxes for a reason. These should always be free. And then the final thing I will say, again, sustainable short-term and long-term, is I work in healthcare right now. I have a son with type 1 diabetes. I changed my whole career to help him and others. And so I believe firmly in the power of nature to help with anxiety. Not sure if you know, but there's a big mental health crisis right now, right? You feel it, I feel it. And while doctors are very quick to prescribe pills, and they should, I'm not saying they shouldn't, I think they should also be prescribing nature. Had a long talk with my own ENT. He gave me 30 minutes of his time, so you knew it was important to him, and he agrees. So if we can create sustainable partnerships with our hospital organizations, with our healthcare professionals, and start introducing things like, and also more time in nature, that's gonna move us to a really great place.
So yes, we do have a master plan, which we are now about 75% through have completed. And we are also right now starting to redo our strategic plan, which will then load into eventually a new master plan. The other thing that we're doing is we've started doing it on some of our larger sites. We're doing a master plan for each forest preserve independently. So that way we can have a bucket list of projects that need to be done, rate them in order when they need to be done, or some of our buildings, we have long-term projects that, you know, we're looking at 20-year span of getting things done, and just being fiscally responsible, going back to your first question, and making sure that we're not front-loading all that into 1 or 2 years, but we're spreading these things out so that they're there for the community, but they're done responsibly. One of the things that we've really, since we've all gotten on the board, is we've expanded our accessibility programs. So be it, we have two canoe kayak launches at Blackwell and Blackwell and Herrick Lake, that allow people who either, you know, have a disability or just have a back problem be able to get into a kayak or a canoe without any, you know, assistance, or you know, just with pain getting in and out. We have wheelchairs that they're all-terrain wheelchairs throughout many of our sites that people can use for free at our preserves. Again, giving people more access to our systems. But I want to see more of that. I want to see, to make sure that all of our picnic tables are handicap accessible, and just doing better and making sure that these programs, we have many fantastic programs that are available for people that need accessibility, but sometimes people just can't find them. They're on our website, but I just want to reach out more into the communities and make sure people know about these things, and even making it more accessible to get to our forest preserves. Many people that come to our forest preserves, they might not have cars, or they live in apartments and they depend on public transport. And that limits you to which forest preserves you can go to. So those are some programs I would love to see expanded. I'm also a long-term volunteer with the Forest Preserve. I was a volunteer many years before I got on the board. And one thing, I just went through my Master Burn certification, and doing prescribed burns basically is what that is, to help with our restoration. And Cook County allows their volunteers to do this. And they also are allowed to use chainsaws, and this helps their crews be able to cover a lot more property that they're doing restoration work or just keeping up on invasive species. And this is something that I have already started and will continue to push hard on our staff, because our volunteers want to do it, but it's just, we need to change our policy to make sure this is available. And it's a free resource that helps us do so much more for our communities. So those are the type of things I want to focus on.
Great. Okay, thank you. And we are going to just do your summation now.
Okay.
I also did mention, I forgot to mention that there is a third candidate running for this spot, and we did invite her to come, but she did not respond. And that person, her name is Jacqueline West, or Jax West. So I just did not want to not mention that there was a third candidate. Okay, so let's see, I think I started with you. So Dana, why don't you do your summation first? You have 90 seconds.
Okay.
And then, Sue, you're gonna time. Thank you.
Again, my name is Dana Moreau, and I have shown over the years that I tend to show up when there's an issue or a problem, but also a viable solution, because you need both. I have worn so many hats in the 25 years that I've been here in DuPage County. Just looking at volunteer work, I have been a Village of Lombard trustee. I ran the Environmental Concerns Committee. I was a PTA president and legislative aide. I also was the co-producer of a documentary called Revenge of the Electric Car, which followed the CEOs of most of the major car companies and he who must be not be named from Tesla, in their race to bring electric vehicles to market, and that was fascinating. Now, my day job has also been quite diverse. I've worked in almost every industry, from finance to technology to healthcare to entertainment to hospitality. I owned small restaurants in Lombard because our downtown was dying and someone needed to make a change, and we did. So the thing about Forest Preserve Commissioner is I think Tina and I, and even the missing Jax, probably all love nature. And, I've hugged my share of trees, and that's table stakes, really. I think what I look at is this is very similar to the role of Lombard trustee. This is a commissioner. We're looking at this at a higher level. And the experience I bring to the table in terms of budgeting and planning and strategery and actual strategy make a lot of sense here. With all of these hats I've worn, I have a 360-degree view. And I think my campaign and my priorities of keeping it protected, keeping it free, and keeping it as healthy and us healthy is a strong one. So I hope you vote for me. But I like Tina too. So you're gonna get somebody good.
Thank you, Dana. Dana and I actually know each other from when I first ran for trustee years ago. So it's a nice friendly race. But I just want to say, you know me, I've been on this board since 2020, and with a Democratic majority that we brought on when Barb and I and Jeff joined Daniel on that board, we have done so many great things to help expand services for you, the taxpayers. And I want to continue and be able to have the option to be able to continue that work. I'm the president, I've been the president pro temp and the treasurer since I got on the board in 2020. And I take those very serious. So when Dan's not there, I run the board meetings. And it's fun, I get to do. I'm a fighter. I have fought hard for our staff. I've fought hard for our relationships with the labor unions when we had some tough issues with some of our bidders. And I am the one who's taken over those union liaisons. When things got a little awkward, I just charged in and I worked on fixing those relationships and to make sure that they support all of us on that board, especially as Democrats. I've been endorsed by all of our DuPage labor unions, and I've been endorsed by the Sierra Club. I work very closely, and I am a volunteer with the Sierra Club, so I'm honored to have that endorsement. And I walk the walk. I go out there. I'm a steward for one of our nature preserves, so I go out there and I spend time with our staff, or I just spend time directing volunteers and doing the work and weeding our preserves and protecting some of our endangered species. I just would love to continue this work, and I'd be honored to get your support. Thank you so much. My website is votetina.org, and thank you very much, Lisle Township, for having this forum for us.